Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, usually when we meet here, I've got this stack of articles in front of me.
Right.
Tech trends, political analysis, all the noisy stuff of the world. But today feels different. The source material isn't really a stack of paper. It feels more like a map to a territory that, I mean, we all live in every single day, but we rarely stop to actually look at.
We don't.
We're talking about the nature of memory, the weight of the past, and this incredibly difficult, slippery thing we call the present.
It is the water we swim in, isn't it?
Mm.
We're so immersed in it that we just forget it's there.
We do. And honestly, looking at the themes for today, the river, the mirror, the sky, it brings up a lot for me personally. I think most of us operate with this kind of default setting that we are archived.
In archive.
Yeah, I think of myself as this collection of everything that's ever happened to me. The wins, the losses, the embarrassments. But the perspective we're exploring today, it challenges that. Fundamentally, it suggests we aren't archives at all. We're something much more fluid.
It invites us to stop holding on so tight. And I think to really get what that means, we have to step away from the intellectual ideas for a second.
Okay,
We need to start with an image.
I'm ready. Take me there.
I want you to imagine you are standing by the edge of a wide river. It's gone. The very first light is just sort of bleeding into the sky, that deep indigo turning into violet. The air is cool. And the water is perfectly still. It looks like polished obsidian, reflecting the sky so perfectly you can't tell where the water ends and the air begins.
That sounds incredibly peaceful. It's that moment of silence before the world wakes up.
Yeah, exactly. This represents the mind in its natural state, pure awareness, clarity.
Okay.
But then the sun rises a little higher and ripples start to appear on the surface of the water. Now, usually when we see ripples, they come from the wind or a fish or
A stone someone throws.
a scone, right? But in this image, the ripples are different. They aren't coming from the outside. They are bubbling up from within the depths of the river itself.
That's a haunting image. It's an internal disruption.
It is. You're standing there in this perfect morning, safe, warm, unthreatened. But the water is churning. This is what happens to us.
Yeah.
You might be washing dishes or driving to work. Physically, you are safe, but suddenly a ripple comes up from the deep, a memory, a word spoken 5 years ago that stung,
Oh, that's so real.
a failure you have been carrying around like a stone in your pocket.
Yeah.
Suddenly the mirror is broken, the water is churning with ghosts.
I feel that. I think everyone feels that. It's that phantom cringe or that sudden wave of grief over something that is technically over. You aren't in the past physically, but emotionally,
Yeah,
you're drowning in it.
precisely. And this is the core problem we need to sit with. We mistake the lens of the past for the reality of the present. We think memories are these fixed records stored away in a filing cabinet.
Right.
But they aren't records. They are living currents. They reach forward from the depths and they warp how we see the surface. They distort the now.
This reminds me of that concept of samsara. Now, usually when I hear that word, I think of, reincarnation, past lives.
That sort of thing, yes.
But in this context, it feels much more immediate, more psychological.
It is very immediate. In this light, samsara isn't about what happens after you die. It is the cycle of suffering born from this perception right now.
Okay.
It is the belief that if we just replay the scene enough times, if we analyze the breakup, the argument, the mistake, we will finally understand it. We think we will find the truth of the past, and then we can rest.
That is such a trap. It feels productive, doesn't it? It feels like you're doing the work. If I just think about this enough, I'll learn the lesson.
That is the great illusion. We think we are solving a puzzle, but we are actually just spinning a wheel. The radical insight here is that the past is not a place you can return to. It doesn't exist anymore.
So when you go back, what are you doing?
You are telling yourself a story in the present. Samsara is the suffering caused by believing the story is the reality.
So we are essentially hallucinating ghosts and then letting them beat us up.
In a way, yes. Let's look at the metaphor of the mirror. It is one of the most powerful ways to understand this.
The mirror, right.
Imagine a clean mirror. It reflects whatever is in front of it perfectly. No judgment, no distortion. That is the mind in true presence.
Okay, I'm with you.
But memories, especially the highly charged ones, the tears, the traumas, they act like dust or grease. They smudge the surface. So when the mirror is dirty, you look at a new person, a new partner maybe, but you see the smudge of an old betrayal. You face a new opportunity, but you see the shadow of a past failure.
Because I'm looking through the smudge.
You are looking through the dust of yesterday. You aren't interacting with the person in front of you. You're interacting with your projection of someone from 10 years ago.
You know, I get that with the bad stuff. It makes total sense that trauma lingers and distorts things, but what about the good memories? Nostalgia. I always thought nostalgia was a refuge, a warm place to go.
It feels warm, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I'm guessing even that is a form of dust.
It is seductive.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to look at what nostalgia actually does. When we idealize the past, that golden era of our lives, or the one that got away, we are unconsciously declaring that the present is insufficient.
Ooh, wow. Declaring the present insufficient. That hits home. It's like saying, I prefer the museum to the garden.
Exactly. It is a form of upadana, or clinging. We usually think of clinging as holding on to things we want or pushing away things we hate. But we also cling to identities.
Okay.
If you are holding on to a memory of a time when you were happier or more successful, that fixed point becomes an anchor. It stops you from flowing with the river. You are stuck in a ghost story.
Even if it's a pleasant one.
It might be a pleasant story, but it is still a story that keeps you from being alive right now.
So whether it's a nightmare or a daydream, if it's pulling you out of the now, it's a problem.
Precisely. If you are living in the glory days, you are essentially asleep to the life you are actually living.
That brings up a real fear for me, though, and I suspect for anyone listening. If I let go of the past, the good and the bad, what is left? It feels safer to hold on to the history. The past is a map I know.
That is the crux of the fear. The past is a map we have already drawn. We know the contours. Even if the territory was painful, we survived it.
Right, you know where the cliffs are.
You know where the monsters live. Letting go means stepping into the fog, into the unknown. But the wisdom of these traditions suggests that this fog you are afraid of is actually the only place where life is happening.
It's interesting because modern science actually backs this up, right? We know now that memory isn't like a video recording.
It is not. This is where the poetry meets the biology. When you recall a memory, you are not retrieving a file from a hard drive. You are reconstructing it.
So you're rebuilding it every time.
You are literally rebuilding the neural pathways, and you rebuild it using the materials you have today. Your current mood, your current beliefs, they all color the reconstruction.
So memory becomes less of a record and more of a myth, a story we tell ourselves.
A myth we curate to support who we think we are today.
Can you give me an example of that, how we do that?
Sure. Think about a relationship that ended badly. If you're angry now and you look back at a memory of that person from 5 years ago, you might subconsciously emphasize a subtle frown you didn't even notice at the time.
Wow.
You rewrite the scene to justify your current anger. You are editing the film to fit the sequel.
That is unnerving. It means I can't even trust my own evidence.
We turn memory into a weapon or a crutch. We remember being wrong to justify why we are guarded now, but we are rarely remembering the truth.
So if my past is a myth and I can't trust my memories and I'm supposed to let go of them, I have to be honest, it feels like I'm losing control.
That is the ego talking. The ego loves continuity, it loves the story. But let me ask you, does holding on to the story stop the pain?
No.
Or does it prolong it?
It definitely prolongs it.
There is a famous parable that addresses this perfectly. It's called the parable of the poisoned arrow.
I've heard of this. It's pretty graphic, isn't it?
It is. The story goes that a man is shot by a poisoned arrow. His family rushes to get a doctor to pull it out. But the man refuses. He screams, "No, stop! I won't let you pull this out until I know who shot it."
He wants details.
All the details. Was he tall or short? What clan was he from? What kind of wood is the bow made of?
Meanwhile, the poison is spreading. He's dying while asking questions.
Exactly. The point is that suffering is happening now. The priority isn't to solve the mystery of the history. The priority is to remove the arrow.
We do that constantly, don't we? We obsess over the why. Why did they say that? Why did I make that mistake? We think the analysis is the cure.
We think if we understand the archer, the wound will heal. But the analysis is often just a distraction from the pain. The insight is to ask, is this happening now?
And it isn't.
No. The event is gone. Only the echo remains. And echoes by nature fade unless we scream back at them.
I want to push on this a bit deeper because there is a very real fear, and I think I speak for a lot of people here, that if I stop analyzing my past, if I stop holding on to my story, I lose myself. Who am I if I'm not the person who went through those things? If I'm not the survivor or the achiever?
This brings us to one of the most difficult and yet liberating concepts we can explore. The concept of anatta, No self.
No self. That sounds like nihilism, like I just disappear.
It sounds scary, I know. We are obsessed with individualism. But it isn't that you don't exist, it is that you aren't a statue. You aren't a fixed stone monument defined by an inscription carved 10 years ago. You are a flame.
The flame.
Think about a flame on a candle. It looks like a continuous object, right?
Yeah.
It has a shape.
Right, yeah.
But is the flame you see now the same flame that was there 5 seconds ago? No. It's being renewed with every single moment, with every breath. You are a process, not an object.
So I'm not the kid who was scolded, or the adult who failed that business.
You aren't even the person you were when we started this conversation.
That is dizzying. But I can see how it is freeing. If I'm a flame, I don't have to carry the wax that burned an hour ago.
Exactly. There is a powerful story that illustrates this, the story of Angulimala.
This is the bandit, right? The name literally translates to finger garland.
Yes, Anguli means finger, Mala means garland. He was a feared criminal who had killed many people. He cut off a finger from each victim and wore them around his neck.
Talk about a heavy identity. He is literally wearing his past sins.
He defined himself entirely by his violence. He thought he was irredeemable. But the story goes that he meets the Buddha on the road and he tries to attack him. He's running as fast as he can, but he can't catch the Buddha, who is just walking calmly.
Like a nightmare where you run but don't move.
Finally, Angulimala shouts, "Stop, monk, stop!" And the Buddha turns and says, "I have stopped, Angulimala. Now you stop too."
I have stopped.
Angulimala was confused. He said, "What do you mean? You are walking and I am standing still." And the Buddha explained, "I have stopped harming living beings. I have stopped the churning of the mind. You are the one who is still running."
Wow.
And in that moment, Angulimala realized, the past does not dictate the next action. He could stop. Transformation isn't about rewriting history. It is about refusing to let history write the next chapter.
So even if you have a garland of fingers around your neck, metaphorically speaking, you can just stop.
You can stop. You can drop the story. You are not your story. That is the mantra.
Okay, let's get practical here. We stop. We drop the story. But does that mean we erase it? Do we pretend the bad things didn't happen? Because that feels like denial.
That is a crucial distinction. We are not aiming for erasure. We're aiming for integration without attachment. Think of the Japanese art of kintsugi.
The pottery repair with the gold.
Yes. When a precious bowl breaks, they don't throw it away. But they also don't try to hide the cracks. They fill the cracks with gold lacquer.
I've always loved that image. The gold makes it more beautiful.
It does. But notice the nuance. The object isn't restored to its original state. It is changed. The history of the breakage is now part of the beauty. But, and this is key, the vessel is whole again. It doesn't leak.
So the crack is real.
The crack is real, but it doesn't have to leak.
That is the balance. Acknowledging the crack, but not letting your life force drain out through it.
Exactly. And there's a practical tool for this. It isn't just philosophy. It is called mindfulness of Vedana, or feeling tones.
Vedana. Okay, how do we use that?
So when a memory hits, that embarrassment from 5 years ago surfaces. Your brain immediately jumps into the story, "I'm so stupid, everyone saw me."
Right, the spiral.
Instead of following the narrative, you go to the body. You ask, what is the feeling tone? Is it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral?
Yeah.
And where is it?
Like physically located.
Physically. Is your chest tight? Is your stomach knotted? You locate the sensation of the memory in your biology, and you breathe into it. You don't try to fix it. You just say, "I see you." You are a physical sensation. You are part of history, but you don't steer the ship.
It's like stepping back from the movie screen and realizing you are sitting in a theater.
Yes, and realizing that the movie on the screen cannot actually hurt the person in the seat.
There is another metaphor that really helps with this, the tree struck by lightning.
Oh, I love that one. A great oak tree. It gets struck by lightning. The scar is massive. It runs down the whole trunk. It's real. The tree doesn't pretend it didn't happen.
They can't hide it.
But the tree doesn't stop growing. It grows around the scar. It integrates the wound into its structure. It doesn't let the scar determine which way the new branches reach.
The new branches still reach for the light.
They still reach for the light.
That feels like a good transition to the final part of our conversation. We've talked about the river, the mirror, the arrow, but there is one more image that sort of holds it all. The sky.
The sky. In these traditions, the luminous mind, the part of you that is pure awareness, is called Siddha, and it's likened to the sky. Memories, thoughts, emotions, they are just weather.
Storms, clouds, sunshine.
They all pass through the sky. But the sky itself is unchanged. The sky is never wet by rain. It is never burned by fire. It creates the space for the weather, but it is not the weather.
That is such a comforting thought, that there is a part of us that is permanently untouched by our trauma.
Always.
Yeah.
The practice isn't to stop the storm. You can't. The practice is to remember you are the sky.
So practically speaking, for someone listening who is thinking, okay, I want to be the sky, but I'm busy being stressed out by my emails, there is a ritual we can use, a memory checkpoint.
Yes, a nightly ritual to help separate the weather from the sky. It's very simple. You sit for a moment at the end of the day, and when a ghost or a worry surfaces, you ask 3 questions. First, did this actually happen today?
And usually the answer is no. It's a rerun.
Usually. If the answer is no, you acknowledge this is a memory, not a current threat.
Second, what story am I telling myself about who I am because of this?
Am I telling myself I'm unlovable or a failure?
You have to name the narrative to tame it.
Calling it out takes its power away. It stops being truth and starts being just a story. It does. And the third question is the most important. Can I hold this with kindness? You put a hand on your heart and say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I am safe now.
That thank you is so powerful. It isn't fighting the ghosts.
It is a polite refusal. It is saying, I see you, but I'm busy being here.
I see you, but I'm busy being here. I think that's going to be my new mantra. It seems like the ultimate goal isn't to have a perfect past. It's just about freedom.
Freedom from the tyranny of the narrative. The image we leave with is the dawn breaking. The river clears, and you realize that the present moment doesn't need your past to be meaningful.
That's a radical idea for our culture. We always think we need context. I am meaningful because of what I've done.
But the truth is simpler. A single breath, fully felt, contains more truth than a lifetime of stories. The present is complete in itself. It is not a waiting room for the future, and it is not a museum for the past.
It's the only place you're actually alive.
It is the only place, that silence just before dawn. It is always there, underneath the noise of the memories. You just have to stop churning the water to see it.
So, for everyone listening, if you are carrying a stone in your pocket today, if you are looking in the mirror and seeing dust, maybe just for a second, try to see the glass, try to see the water.
Stop letting yesterday's weather determine today's sky.
That is it. That is the deep dive. We usually end with a recap, but I think today we end with a question, a provocative thought for you to carry into your day. We talked a lot about letting go of the bad memories, the trauma, the failures. That makes sense. But here is the challenge. What if you let go of the good ones too? What if you let go of the need to be the person who achieved that thing 5 years ago? What if you put down the trophy so your hands are empty enough to catch what is falling into them right now?
That is the scary part. Identity is a powerful thing, but emptying your hands is the only way to hold something new.
Thank you for walking through this garden with us.
It was a pleasure to be here.
See you in the now.